everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Dark Season 3, Episode 4. It is called The Origin. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. So, there's a bit of a pattern emerging with the episodes here. Episode 1 was mostly Earth 2. Episode 2 was like mostly Earth 1, but specifically the 80s. And then we jump back to Earth 2, present day, mostly, but not always. And then episode 4, we're back to Earth 1, but now the 50s. So there's kind of a pattern emerging in the episode structures, but which is fine.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny how a couple episodes ago we were talking about how we didn't actually get that much Tronte in the 50s, and then here you go.
Yeah, here's some more. No, we were saying 80s, not 50s.
Was it 80s?
We said there was plenty in the 50s. It was the 80s that was lacking the Tronte. Here's more Kid Tronte, though. Yes. Opening with the unknown, or do we call him the origin now? More on that later. But
I think we'll still call him the unknown.
Right. So the unknown comes and sees him and gives him the snake bracelet.
Yes. And
time has passed. It's a few months later, because again we're in what's September now?
September, I think. Yeah.
So gives the snake bracelet and says. It says that he knew his mother, which of course is Agnes, and
yes,
that's okay, interesting. And Agnes is, as was revealed last season, is involved in a lot of stuff and wants to be on Team Adam and all the rest of it. So okay, all right, he's running to Agnes. All right, fine. But it does raise some interesting questions, because we still have the mystery of who his father is, and this would maybe suggest.
There's an not a strong implication by this show's standards, because don't get me wrong, there are stronger implications later in this episode.
Yes.
Of other things, but there's enough here where he talks about how he had something to do with naming him. I think he mentions. Yes,
and that's actually the scene where he flat out says that he doesn't have a name as well. The unknown. He says that he was never named.
Yeah, which is interesting.
That is an interesting beat on its own, for sure. So we kind of start there, and the rest of the 50 stuff, before we jump over to all the other things going on, we kind of catch up with the kids, who of course are going to be the adults in the 80s. Really gets wacky with the names here, but we have a bunch of the girls sort of standing around, and Claudia is basically talking about the scene that happened last season where Tronte showed her his penis. Which I'll admit I'd forgotten about until they started talking about it, and she's like, "Oh, have you seen one?" She's like, "Oh, I kind of have," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, that was a scene." I forgot about that.
It felt so disconnected at the time.
It did, yeah. I actually, because one of the girls, I wasn't entirely sure who it was supposed to be. The third one who was standing up, and it was like, as the episode went on, I realized, oh, this is actually Tronte's wife. This is who his wife's going to be. There's so many love triangles in this episode. There's so many like pairs of people where the person they've really been into since they were young is actually someone else.
Yeah. That's not exclusive to this episode.
No. It's a recurring theme, and it's a recurring theme in all time periods as well, which is very important. But so that kind of sets up that stuff. She has an encounter with Tronte later where she asks about the bracelet, which she sees, because he didn't show up at school. It is mentioned that his mother just disappeared. Like when she went off to join Adam and all that, that was her gone. And he was just left with Claudia's family, and that's been kind of it. Egon's been kind of dealing with him, and Egon, of course, we catch up with, who's with Hannah, because Hannah, of course, stuck around.
She's going by Katarina.
Katarina, yes. Which actually has its own little looping effect in this episode, because it turns out that the real Katarina was named after loosely. I mean, it's not like she was named after the person.
Inspired by.
But she runs into Katarina's mother, and when she tells her name, she's like, "Oh, that's a nice name." So even if you didn't recognize her name, as soon as she went, "Oh, that's a nice name," you're like, "Oh, you should get it from context."
I mean, it was. I appreciate it because I got it from just the first name anyway, because it was fresh enough. But she said the surname again, so it was useful, and that has its own feedback loop with the St. Christopher pendant.
Mm-hmm. Because she leaves behind.
Yes, because she was given to it by Egon at the start of the episode. And then she passes it on to Helene.
And it's worth mentioning, Egon does say he loves her, which is something that she kind of reacts to, because she wanted Ulrich to say that. Like, that was like her big thing. and she's finally found us. And actually, I started laughing a lot during this scene, just after they have sex and they're sort of talking, because there's a lot of pauses between the talking, so I was having time to think a little bit. And one of the things that occurred to me is that Ulrich's big thing, right, is that he wanted to do things right, because the chief of police when he was a kid that dealt with Mads' disappearance was incompetent. And there was just something in my head that clicked and went, wait, Hannah has now had affairs with both him and Egon. Like, you know, the chief of police in 2 different time periods. Like, both, I don't know, there's something really wacky about that that just occurred to me as I was watching this scene. So, but once again, and it is cheating. It's not like he's left his wife yet. I mean, that's obviously something the episode is kind of getting to later on, is when she realizes when, remember the name?
Of which one, sorry?
Egon's wife.
Oh God.
Agnes.
No, that one's Agnes.
No?
Is Agnes? Agnes is not. I thought that was the one who's missing.
You're right.
Tronte's mother.
That is, you're right.
Doris.
Doris, there you go. I knew it was an old-timey name.
Yeah, me too. It clicked.
Do you know
so many names, and she was such a minor character in season 2.
Yeah, I think what's frustrating with her is that because she's gone by the 80s period, she's just not there. There's less reinforcement for her character in terms of... Although she left an impression, though, because her kind of flirtation with Agnes back in season 1, and that grew in season 2, and even in this episode, her wanting Egon to look for her, and even though she claims it's because, that boy needs his mother back, she's really in love with her and wants her back for herself, which... Yeah. Of course, the unknown calls her out on the unknown having this information. She goes to the church looking for Noah. They're calling him by a different name, but Noah went missing around the same time, and she's going to ask questions and see if she can sort of dig something up on her own. And the unknown just says, no, you don't want her back for the son, you want her back for yourself. You know, the heart, you know, mysteries of the heart and all that jazz. And even says, hey, what's your husband been doing? Being out late at night and, you know, getting up for work early.
It's an incredibly sinister scene as well, because he reaches into his pocket, the music's all going, or the creepy
dun,
yeah I didn't want to quite call it a gong, but metallic smacks of noise,
aggressive like bass note on the piano, sort of call it.
Yeah, but it's reinforced with some sort of like percussive metal, like it's almost like striking like a metal bin lid. Like almost, it's reinforced. Yeah. It's really unique sound.
Oh yeah, the Terminator 2 thing, where if you listen to the drum beats in Terminator 2, there's like a metallic clank every so often in the beats, which I'm fairly certain it sounds like a hammer hitting like a piece of metal. Is what it sounds like.
Yeah, it might well be. Yeah.
But anyway, so this leads to her saying she wants to have a divorce, and Egon, the poor sod, is kind of trying to like.
He'd come back with flowers to
try to patch up.
Apologize.
Although even that's a little bit hollow, because he does that after it kind of breaks off with Hannah, because Hannah, of course, the big news in this episode, and this is opening a whole can of worms, is that Hannah's pregnant.
Again.
In the 50s. Yeah, so we have Hannah in Earth 2 is pregnant, although potentially she's not surviving, although we don't know that for sure. We don't know if she survives Apocalypse in Earth 2.
I didn't see her name crossed out, but I didn't, we couldn't see everyone.
Yeah. But obviously now Hannah 1, as it were, on Earth 1 is now pregnant in the 50s, and goes to, and obviously it's the 50s, so it's, getting an abortion is not as quite as common or as easy as it is in present day. So Egon gives her some money and tells her where to go, because he knows the place, he knows the local who's
he had
trustworthy.
A friend who had it done recently.
Yeah. That may have even been referenced back in season 1. It sounds familiar. Like, you walked in like the other guys and were talking about something. I feel like there might have been like a small hint.
Maybe. I'm not confident enough on that, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, nothing important. Just a little thing. But she, when she tells him about it, his reaction, because he says, "Is it mine?" Which is a very insulting thing to hear. And Hannah comes to this realization that she's been trying to, claw her way to be accepted and keeps people around, from Ulrich to him. And she's like, no, it turns out I don't need anyone. She's trying to be independent now. And it's kind of a, because I was kind of worried for Egon's sake. I was like, oh man, we know what she's like when she decides she's unhappy. We've seen what she did to Ulrich. And not that
she's vindictive.
Yeah, Ulrich wasn't innocent by any means, but what she did to Ulrich was above and beyond.
Oh yeah.
So, I was kind of worried for Egon, because Egon is inherently a bit of a nicer character. At least old man Egon definitely is. Not that this one in the 50s is a complete bastard, but he's definitely a bit shades of grey more.
He's not squeaky clean, and like I say, he's having an affair on his wife. It feels a little bit unfair to blame that solely on him, because we know that she had the thing with Agnes, and their relationship is clearly in a terrible place in general.
Everyone's at fault here, but it's basically, you can kind of see that his wife being attracted to this woman because she's unhappy in a heterosexual marriage is then, even though he doesn't necessarily realize the exact reason for it, there's a disconnect there, which makes him feel lonely, which is making him kind of act out in the opposite direction. So you can kind of see how they both are having an effect on each other that's driving them to other people. But
yeah, it's why when she kind of says, we need to get a divorce, and that it's long overdue. It doesn't feel like this is a malicious thing in spite. Oh, you cheated on me, so we're gonna do that. I'm breaking up with you, sort of thing. It's more just no. This relationship has run its course. And we should have recognized that before. It's more
like she's realized. It's not like she's. I mean, she's a little bit shocked when she first hears it, but it's not like she's like completely angry or upset.
It's not like she has the moral high ground.
It's relatively, I guess, an acceptance of understanding and realizing that this is kind of just a natural place for us to end. Although Egon still doesn't take it very well. He's drinking when Claudia comes home. He's at a bad place.
Quoting the heart wants what the heart wants, or whatever it was that they specifically said.
Yeah. They repeated the line a bunch of times in the episode.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the Hannah stuff, except for, of course, we should mention she does go for the abortion, which is where she meets Katharina's mum and decides against having the abortion. Very important, because that means someone's going to pop out of that oven.
Yep. And at this point in the episode, you're kind of going, oh, okay, is this where the unknown comes from, maybe? At this point in the episode.
Yeah, of course that's answered by the end of the episode. Is
at least strongly implied that is not the case by the end of the episode.
To be fair, if it turned out not to, if what they tell us, or what they imply, I should say, at the end of the episode isn't accurate, then I would say they're being dirty in a way that they've never been dirty before, because tends to be that when they heavily imply something, they're not lying to us, they're not trying to trick us, they're saying, hey, we're telling this information now, this is the reveal of that information, we're giving.
They're usually pretty generous, and they don't actively mislead us with things like that, so I'm willing to assume it's true for now.
As far as
I say, at this point in the episode, I was really going, oh, who could it be? And that was the first person that sprung to mind, right?
As far as 50 stuff otherwise goes, the unknown goes to some councilman about the permits to build a nuclear plant, because they've not it's not went through. Old Helga's father hasn't hasn't had any success. We hear him, he's shouting behind the door at one point when Claudia's there for something to tutor Helga, and the unknown threatens this man. The kid version pulls a gun on him, and they make him sign all these documents to give the permission for the plant. So it really feels like the unknown is definitely trying to make sure everything happens. It feels like all the steps that could have maybe went another way to stop the timeline from progressing, he's there to just fix them all and make sure they're all happening. Which, to be fair, to an extent, is what Adam and Eva are all kind of doing as well. But at least at the start of their stories, they're kind of thrust into it and not realizing they're doing that or being manipulated into doing that. Clearly, by the time they get older, they do know what they're doing, and they are sort of actively trying to make things happen the way they should.
Whereas we know the unknown is working for Eve and does seem to be very aware of what's going on.
Yeah. Arguably even seems to have more information than anyone ever has. He seems to know things about personal lives. The way he talks to Doris about Egon and what she's going through, like, all of that feels very knowing in a personal level, that because often they'll know things about certain things, but that felt like, okay, why would he know that specifically? Could just be that he's learned more from multiple people. It could be more. I think
this is why at that point I was thinking that this was Hannah's unborn child of this earth. That's why he knows about this affair, because Egon would be his father. So that's kind of what I was thinking at that point in the episode.
It's kind of interesting though, if you think about this scene, the scene where he tells her that. in the context of the earlier scene where he said, "Oh, I knew your mother, Tronte," because obviously that's the woman that she's in love with. So there is a connection there, and it's hard to imagine this character having a romantic relationship with anyone because he's presented in such a kind of sort of force of nature, like sinister way,
sociopathic, detached sort of way. Yeah.
So obviously, just to sort of like spin that out into what the Martha 2 and Jonas plot is, and obviously with the middle-aged Martha in which they do confirm is the 50s, the 2050s, the post-apocalyptic.
Yes. Earth. It didn't take long for their Earth to look like this shithole.
No, that happened very quickly, which implies that the actual epicenter blast must be even worse.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Because it was a very different looking effect, right? In terms of the outcome.
Yeah, because Earth 1 was very Last of Us. This is Mad Max. I think we said that last time, but that's very much the difference in visual styles.
Yeah.
So again, maybe some of the weaker stuff is like whenever Adam or Eva are talking to characters for an extended period of time, it tends to be the weakest part of the episodes because they kind of monologue a bit about saving everything and yada yada.
Yeah, yes and no, because also at this point, in this episode, middle-aged Martha here has some of the most fascinating pieces of exposition in the show.
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff in there. We can kind of go back round to that because I want to get to the point because she basically says you have to go back and you have to stop the bomb, and the big thing she says is that you can't save both worlds, you have to choose one or the other, and tries to sell Jonas on the idea that, hey, you can't have your Martha back, but you can have this Martha. Like, you two can work as a pair.
Yeah, and it's like there's kind of no relation here because you don't exist in this world, so it's like it's fine.
That is a technicality. That would just
yeah, that feels like it's pushing it, but given how they were both, even knowing the full truth of it in season 2 by the end of that, and they were just like, screw it, we don't care.
But this is the thing though, when they get back to the present day timeline, and they go back to her house, which is normally Jonas's house. There is kind of a moment where she says, when I first saw you, I felt some sort of form of recognition, which does imply that between the different versions across both Earths, there is a connection between the counterparts. It's not just completely separate entities. There is some kind of, maybe it's ethereal, like some sort of like life bond between them, but there's something that gave her a sense of deja vu, the glitch in the Matrix.
And I think at this point we're wondering, is this glitch in the Matrix, as they call it? Like, is it this connection between counterparts? Or is it still kind of these remembering previous cycles, like not like full remembering everything, but just feelings and vague recognition? That could still be playing a part of it.
So they go back, right, and she's freaking out. She runs out at one point when she's hearing some of this stuff that the world's going to end and all that, because she's really starting to freak out. They get back and they have this tender moment after she says about the deja vu, and they end up kissing. They end up having sex, which means that Jonas has now had sex with two Marthas. Superman and Batman would be so... Proud's not the word, but there'd be something.
There'd be something. Oh, yeah, that sums it up nicely.
But and it's after this. So during all the episode, right? Because that's kind of the end of their thing. All it's worth mentioning during the montage of this, young Claudia in the 50s, goes into Tronte's bedroom and undresses to kind of like not make even, but she wants to show him herself. It's kind of a reactionary thing though, because she got a sense in the woods that he was kind of like starting to have feelings for his wife. So
she was just feeling jealous and was like, hey, attention on me.
Yeah, she's trying to sort of wrestle him back. So it's interesting that even that mirrors the whole Hannah Katharina Ulrich thing, where years later one's having an affair with the other, even though they paired off at some point much earlier. But anyway, I just wanted to mention because we kind of didn't mention that stuff in the 50s. But so they have sex, but the stuff in the actual Earth 1 in the 2050s. Obviously, we have a slightly later in the timeline Martha 2. And it's actually much clearer by the end of the episode, just within what sort of window we're dealing with here in terms of time, but given the implications. But she meets old man Magnus briefly, and he kind of chuckles at the idea that, like, we didn't know why in the 1888 that you disappeared like that, but we
were so angry at her, but it was kind of us all along. Oops.
Yeah, we gave you the order. It was us ordering that from, behind the scenes. So she cries her eyes out at this scene, seeing her brother this age and hearing this. And she goes to talk to Adam. We do get a little bit of Agnes, who does put on a suit and goes towards the God Particle. To do what?
Yeah, we don't see where she comes out, right?
No, we don't. We do know that Adam shows her the newspaper of old Claudia being found, her corpse, and says you have to give this to Claudia when the time is right. And that did happen.
We saw, right?
Yeah, that happened in season 2. Yeah, we did see her give her that. So this is an Agnes before she sort of left and came back into the fold.
I think so.
Yeah,
because that's clearly the implication. Because like I say, we saw her give this to Claudia, and Claudia then accepted her death sort of before the end. That was a big thing in season 2.
And then on top of that, she hugs. We've barely seen her this season, but there's like a sort of second in command in the future that was with Elizabeth that we saw a bunch of times. She hugs her in here before she goes out in the hazmat suit. Implying a connection there of some kind. So I mean, that's just this is one of these ones that's not that important in the grand scheme of things, but it's there. Like there's something there.
It's probably important. Let's be honest.
I wouldn't say every connection's been important. Some of them are just kind of fun little additional things. At
this stage of the show, it might be.
So, but anyway, so Martha comes in and says, Adam, I made sure Jonas got to where he was going. I did what I did in the 1880s. I did that for you. You promised me to tell me the origin, right? Show me the origin. And Agnes even says before she leaves to Adam, show her the origin, right? Show Martha the origin. And so we keep hearing about this origin all episode. And he takes her to the post-apocalyptic remains of the Jonas house. And says this is where it started. And this is obviously just right after we've seen the scene of them having sex in this very bedroom. And obviously you kind of start to get it, right? You say, okay, the child of two worlds, the child of someone who's not even supposed to exist in World 1 with someone in World 2. Like, what sort of unique properties does that make in a kid, right? And obviously I was already thinking, okay, this might be the unknown dude, right? But of course they go further and they basically spell it out for you. And I like that they do it with the music, because he sort of like, puts her hand on her stomach, and then as soon as she does that, you just hear the din, din. And I'm like, oh shit, they're really spelling it out. They're telling me quite in no uncertain terms.
And we also have the other bit where it's I think this is with the middle-aged Martha stuff, where it has her diagram on the floor of all the connections.
I think hers was on the wall.
Is it on the wall?
Yeah, the one on the floor is at the end, but it's you actually see the unknown standing at the end.
Well, yeah, that's the one I'm on about. Is where, just in case you didn't get it, it cuts from that middle symbol, the infinite symbol of everything, the origin and the beginning and the end.
In fact,
and then cuts to the unknown.
There might even be a we actually glossed over this middle-aged Martha, who was not associated with this one on the floor. She had one on the wall that was the names crossed out, but she's had the same infinite symbol in the middle. There's a scene in the middle of the episode after the others have left where Noah pops up. Now, is this Earth 1 Noah or Earth 2 Noah? Who's to say?
I have no idea.
But he pops in and he's like, okay, so you sent them on their way, and he starts talking about, because he even says at that point, you gave birth to the origin. So he says that.
And they say a few times him as well, and they talk about this cycle of the infinite loop of their parents and their ancestors. The way it's looping circular with who's giving birth to who, essentially. They give a whole list of who's involved.
Yeah, he starts the loop, he ends the loop, which means that there's no start and end. But he's the one who's at the center of it all. And I may be wrong, maybe I'm just misremembering this now, but I think the piano sting also plays at the end of that scene to sort of maybe I'm just remembering that now because it makes sense in my head given what's revealed later on. But
I'm not certain, but it might have done.
Maybe it just cut to it. Maybe one of his scenes was next, and I'm just mixing the start of the next scene, and it's entirely possible.
Be, yeah.
It's entirely possible.
Your brain plays funny tricks on you with memory, and the way once you know something, you look back at something else. It's easy to murky details.
It definitely does with this show, because this show is jumping around. Like, this show has gotten harder to kind of like keep track of. Because just look at this episode on its own. This episode on its own has Earth 1 1950s.
Yep.
It has Earth 1 2050s, but also Earth 2 2050s, and then it has Earth 2 2020 or 2019, right? So that's four
different periods.
Yeah, that's 4 different periods, but 2 of them are actually the same time period, just spliced over 2 different worlds. It's really hard to keep track of all this sometimes. Now, again, to be fair to the show, It's actually very easy to follow when you're actually watching it. The problem is that a minute after I'm done, I still, okay, what happened in that episode? And I'm like, oh god.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We talk about it in section by section as much as we kind of can. That is not how it's presented in the episode, of course. No. It's cutting all over the place, and I think this is a testament to incredible direction, the way it leads you, like with the visual cue, of the warping to show changing Earths. You've got the audio cue of the clicking clock. To do the time periods, the way it cuts from character to character to link.
One note on the warping is that sometimes, not every time, but sometimes
takes longer.
Sometimes there's like a false start. It sort of does like a little pulse, and then it sort of goes back to normal, and then pulses properly. Not every time. It may just be the first time each episode, rather than like a specific thing, depending on the transition. But
yeah, I definitely noticed it at least once in this last episode, but I don't know if it was the first one or not.
It was definitely in the last episode as well, because I remember seeing it and just forgot to mention it last review, and then when it happened again this episode, I thought, okay, I'm definitely mentioning that this time. So super important.
Interesting.
Interesting, yeah. It may not be important in the grand scheme of things, but yes, I don't know. It's interesting. So, why I think so, having gotten, I think, most of the details of the episode out of the way, although people always remind us of stuff we didn't talk about, by all means, keep doing so. It's just discussing the meaning of the unknown being the origin of the entire loop, because I think in season 1 it was very much like, okay, we have this simple loop that we focused on, and that was the idea of Mikkel going back, becoming Michael, giving birth to Jonas, and that loop in and of itself. And as we went further, last season we added on the Charlotte Elizabeth like self loop as well, and we keep adding more things to it, and now we're adding multiple worlds, and these things are connected between each other. It's such a complex thing that, I think it was a really smart thing for the show to focus on one simpler idea of time travel in season 1 before it started going this wacky with it later on.
Oh yeah, this would have been nightmarish to try and follow from the start.
Basically what they had to do, and what they did, to their credit, is that they had to get us so used to the way the show worked with the first concept that it was second nature to us. It felt natural to us, and then they could add a second layer on top of it, because if they tried to introduce even some of the stuff from season 2 too early, it might have overwhelmed everything and just been a mess to follow.
Yeah, if I recall, the cliffhanger for the first season is him going to the post-apocalypse for the first time.
Yeah, the first season was just the 3 time periods. It was just, 2019, 50s, 80s, that was it.
I don't want to say it was simple at the time, because it felt like you were still being thrown at the deep end with all this stuff to follow.
A lot of characters, yeah, so it felt complex. It feels like Child's Play now, but
yeah, that's what I mean. It feels weird calling it simple, but to us now, oh yeah, season 1, simple stuff. At the time, it was like, no, this is seriously in depth, and like I say, it really naturally got us used to these things through really strong direction, repetition of themes and ideas and characters over time periods where we felt naturally comfortable.
The key part of it is that beyond just us being used to how the show works, is that it builds up a level of trust. And this is why, we go back to the implication at the end here that the unknown, the origin is this guy, is that we have to be able to trust that. And I think the show had to earn our trust by us clearly making it clear that when it tells us something like that, it's going to follow through on it. It's not just a misdirect, because if we were not trusting things as it was telling us, especially this far in when it's this complex, it would be frustrating to follow.
What's interesting is I actually think they've earned all that trust. So we implicitly trust them when they make these things. These connections and implications.
No,
we're so late in the game now where they could pull the rug out from under someone.
They get one. They can get one before the end. But
more than that, it's just irritating and frustrating. And I agree, and it would be terrible writing almost. It would be just an easy way out. But by earning that trust over seasons, multiple reveals and implications like this, and always following through on it being true, breaking that trust that one time could be an incredibly effective thing for them to do.
Yeah. So now, really, really fascinating. Even just the idea, the origin of the loop is actually this combination of both worlds. This child is created of people from either Earth, which, just like Jonas, shouldn't exist. Even more so because Jonas shouldn't exist in the first place. So it's someone who shouldn't exist, and then having a partnership that shouldn't exist.
Yeah, it goes back, I think, to the saying that's been going around since the first season. the beginning is the end, and the end is the beginning. He is the end of the line in so many ways. He is the culmination of everything, of Jonas and Martha, right? And these two worlds.
Yeah.
So of course he's the beginning.
And the beginning is the end is the beginning is a fantastic Smashing Pumpkins song. Do look it up.
You say this every goddamn season.
I know. Well, they keep bringing this phrase up. I'm going to keep doing it. So the only good thing that came out of the Batman and Robin movie is that song. So
yeah, I'll give you.
Yeah, don't argue with me.
Yeah.
So, one thing from last episode is that the old man Tannhaus definitely was being killed because he was being killed because he was going to expose that time travel exists. That's why the Unknown wanted to kill him, or was sent there to kill him. Which does kind of reopen the can of worms of exactly when that's set in comparison when he's with the kids from 2020. So,
yes,
kind of odd.
And it's forcing me to re-examine the way I was reading that scene, at least with the play and the implication of Martha being his mother. At least is what it felt like it was telling to me at the time. Now I'm not so sure.
Well, yeah, because we know who Martha's kid is now. So unless she gets
unless she has more than one.
Yeah, unless she has another kid, which I mean is possible, but I mean, I don't know if that's a satisfying reveal at this point. Is that she had a second kid later, and this is.
I mean, it could be interesting.
Who else likes that play then?
Well, that's the thing. That's what's getting me. No one else has that connection to it. The only other person who I would say could possibly have that connection to it is Jonas, because he likes it, because he watches her in that play, and that was a moment for him. But specifically saying your mother, it was her favorite play. I can't think of anyone else that fits, and that's why this reveal
she has twins. One is Lip Scar, one is Blind Man.
Do you know what? That could work.
That would work. That'd be an interesting.
That would work.
On
that's the only thing. Like why I was thinking maybe this is the reveal that they pull the rug out on us with, because I can't wrap my head around the other one not being Martha's kid as well. It doesn't make any sense. But that twins would work, and that would really tie into the duality. And
there's multiple people in this show with their mother's name Martha. I just want to point that.
Don't you dare! Don't you goddamn dare!
Martha!
Look, this entire show is about saving Martha. So come on. Let's not start this now.
Yeah, Jonas' entire motivation is that his Martha got killed.
Yes. Jonas is Batman.
Oh, it's too easy. It's too easy.
It really is.
So yes, definitely looking forward to more clarification on some of that stuff.
Yeah, me too.
So yeah, excited to keep going. We're halfway through the season. We've got 4 episodes left. We'll be back with the next one tomorrow. We're going to keep going. We're going to try and keep hitting these daily. There is technically one day we're supposed to skip. I think we may be able to pull a miracle and not skip it, but we'll see.
we really want to get this done as quick as possible because we're really enjoying it.
Yes, that's basically it. So thank you very much, obviously, for joining us. Let us know your theories and so on. For so far, assuming you've not watched ahead. If you have watched ahead, then you'll keep your mouth shut and just
wait until we get to the last one, and then you can come and spill your guts.
We get to the last one. Also, someone pointed out that the thumbnail for the season 2 finale review actually said 308 on it, and no one had ever told me, and I never noticed. So I went back and fixed that today, so that's now correct. So no one thinks they're getting.
It's all right. It's only been a year and a bit.
Well, the title says the right thing, and it's not, But anyway, so like and subscribe. Like is really important. Let's YouTube know that you enjoyed the content, and they'll promote it out and recommend it. When other people are watching dark stuff or TV reviews or stuff like that, then maybe TV show reviews, not TV reviews. We're not a tech channel.
Not yet.
Like maybe someday. If the companies want to send me review samples and send me their fancy new TVs, I'll happily take a look at them and give my unprofessional opinion. So But yeah, you can do that. You can also support us on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV for as little as $1 per month. It helps keep all the content coming, and you get some bonuses for your trouble. You can also get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. You can also ask us questions on there about content that's coming up, or so on and so on. So go and have a look. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?